pilots.
I'm not really piloting. I'm more like a passenger. Are you sure you don't want that seat? Like she's
Guys, check. Yeah, no, I think I saw the idea.
oh yeah, you did.
Looks like there's no substitution being used for Team Shane.
Give me jump.
But yeah, you just get race something. Why no?
Hello and welcome back to Title Sports Live and our coverage of cultural action here at the 2020 Curl-On Under 21 Men's and Women's Provincial Championship. Coming to you live from the Guelph Curling Club in the beautiful Royal City of Guelph, Ontario. I'm Matthew Hall, and alongside Perry Marshall, we'll be bringing you the action all game long as all these teams make their final push for the playoffs. Of course, we now have quite the logjam on the women's side, but before we go into that, why don't we go back and look a little bit at how the last draw ended. Of course, we saw in our feature game, Team Purdy taking the win over Team Rooney, locking in the three men's teams that will be playing tomorrow. In the playoffs, it will be Team Mooibroek, Team McNamara, and Team Purdy. Of course, over in probably the biggest game of the draw, we had the fight between the two undefeated teams of Team McNamara and Team Mooibroek. And in stunning fashion, Team Mooibroek giving up 3 straight steals to lose that game to Team McNamara. I'm sure that one has to hurt a little bit coming into this last draw here, Barry.
Well, I'm sure that knowing the experience of Team Mooibroek, that they'll kind of wipe that one aside.
like the
realize that in the last so again, good effort by McNamara to put the pressure on. 3 steals at the end of the game against the team of the quality of clearly is good playing on their part. And now we'll just wait and see what this next game is.
Absolutely. So over on the men's side, with the win by Team McNamara, does not guarantee them the spot in the final. Of course, if they win their final game here against Team Purdy, they will get that top seed and the bye to the final. But there are situations where it could come down to the draw for Hammer. So that taking a big role in the championships this year.
Yes, and we're going to see that define the men's side potentially if everybody beats each other. And we could see that on the women's side too. This is where we have a real opportunity.
And of course, going over to the women's side with Sierra Sutherland winning her game last draw, securing herself that top spot and the bye to the Monday's final, Monday evening, sorry. And after that, we have a 5-way tie for second place at 3-3. So quite the logjam. We will see 2 of those 3-3 teams here playing each other. Team Duchesne representing the Manotick Curling Center versus, pardon me, Team Kimmel representing the Elora Curling Club.
Again, unlocking one of the 3-3s also leads to another combination.
So with Team Sutherland is the bye to the final. Likely in these 2 games we discussed Team Duchesne versus Team Kimmel, as well as Team Warner versus Team Ladouceur. The winners of both of those games will secure themselves a spot in the playoff round. The losers will be going home after today. So big game that we're going to be watching here today.
No pressure for your last game.
And of course, one more team to keep an eye out on. Team Steel as well with a 3-3 record, playing the leading Team Sutherland. If they are able to pull that game out with a win, there could be the possibility of tiebreaker action on the women's side, which would happen tomorrow morning during the men's semi. So moving on to our own action here, pretty wide open game. Of course, Team Mackenzie Kimmel starting with the Hammer in interesting fashion, actually. Both teams pinning their draw for Hammer the first time around, so a second draw was required. Mackenzie Kimmel's team following it up with a great draw to the side of the button, and Team Duchesne just slipping a little bit deep. So Team Kimmel is starting with the Hammer here in the first end. Looks like both teams aren't going to push the envelope maybe as early as we would like to them to see in order to get some action in the game, but definitely approaching this game a little bit more conservatively to start.
Well, again, pinning those balls to the button last round again shows how both teams are locked in and ready to go. And good execution for the first few shots of this game.
I thought maybe with the comfort level of both teams here pinning those draws and really feeling comfortable with the weight of the ice surface that we might see them go a little bit harder in this first end, but deciding that they would like to waste an end. And of course, with it being such a big game standings wise and kind of the week is on the line for both teams here, I don't completely hate the idea of just giving yourself the time to settle down into this game.
Yeah, now Chuck went for first here in the first end. A little bit of a lineup difference for this team for this event, caused by Emily Duchesne heading off to the Youth Olympics. So having Emma call the game, but keeping the order of throwing the same.
So Emily Duchesne, obviously a great thrower herself. That's why she was selected to represent Canada at the Youth Olympics in Lausanne, Switzerland. Unfortunately, just that event does conflict with the Canadian Juniors in Langley, BC, which this team would progress to if they were able to win the championship this week. So I'm deciding to make that little bit of a lineup change, but deciding not to change the order of the throwing. So Emily Duchesne is the fourth stone thrower, but Emma Artichuk is the skip of this team.
So you'll be hearing Emma on the mic. And so when we're talking about the strategy, Emma's firmly Mike Schmidt. And of course, we can keep it for our two teams. So we're listening closely to these two teams. Again, very skilled, very experienced teams. We expect to see good strategy calls and good execution.
And of course, while we're talking about lineups, might as well talk about Team Female here, making a slight lineup change going into this last draw here. Second, Emma McKenzie experiencing some issues with her shoulder, so the alternate, Kenna Bartlett, is coming in to fill her place at the second position. That being said, as we go through the full team lineups, we have Team Female representing the Allura Curling Club. Lead, Jessica Filipchich. Second, Emma McKenzie. Third, Grace Lloyd. Skip, Mackenzie Kiemel. The alternate is Kenna Bartlett playing second today, and the coach is Glenn Pauley. Looking at Team Duchesne representing the Manotick Curling Center, we have lead Celeste Gauthier. Second, Julian Unlack. Third, Emma Artichuk. The skip is Emily Duchesne, or the fourth, sorry. And the alternate is Grace Cave, and the coach, Greg Artichuk. So even with the guard ending up there, Team Female happy to blank this end and deciding to peel this stone. Although it looks like this is going to overcurl a little bit and leave a corner guard. Of course, the corner guard still definitely benefits Team Female, so Emma Artichuk not happy with that rock staying up there. So I'm going to ask Emily Duchesne to peel this out, and we're likely going to head towards a blank end once again.
Again, at this point, it seems like they've played these first few shots. Trying to go around that doesn't seem to make a lot of sense. So let's stick with the plan.
Absolutely, going around those corner guards will only benefit the team with the hammer, especially we've seen earlier this week, whenever you play off to the wings early in the game like this, because that path hasn't been worked in as much in the 7-minute practice as maybe some of the other paths, like the path to the button. We see a lot of teams who have tried to play to the wings early, really getting themselves into a little bit of trouble, especially if you don't have the hammer. So Emily Duchesne not wanting any of that. Doesn't quite make the peel there and roll out, but I think that'll be good enough. That's a pretty tough rock for Team Kimmel to utilize.
I don't think you're going to take that one on. This gives Mackenzie Kimmel the chance to work on her drawaway. Quickly heard the front end talk. Say, if you want to look at that inside, no.
I mean, I understand where they're coming from, especially this early in the game. Why not take the opportunity to give Mackenzie Kimmel an open draw to the button, really make sure that she has that draw weight in her back pocket. I understand what the front end is saying. You do sort of have that free opportunity to maybe utilize that rock way over on the wings, but in all likelihood that is a very tough shot to execute. And how many times is Mackenzie Kimmel really going to have to throw that draw way out to the wide wings there today? Probably unlikely.
Safely in the house here. Now Emily Shane will want to hit and stick and then force a good hit and roll shot from Mackenzie Kimo.
Definitely better to slip a little bit deeper there on that stone. You'd hate to come up top 12. Of course, it would be an extremely difficult hit and roll, but if Emily Deschênes was able to make that hit and roll behind the yellow rock, you would look a little bit silly. So definitely the good tolerance there to slip a little bit deeper, not allow any sort of roll opportunity by Emily Deschênes. She's just going to have to hit this on the nose and then allow Mackenzie Kimo to take on the opportunity for the blank end.
Again, for those who've been watching this sheet all week, if you do get that weight up and out a little bit, it will run straight. And if they get a little underweight coming from the inside out, it will curl.
Yeah, definitely. It all comes down to weight control, especially on this sheet. In some of the spots, it will run almost abnormally straight with a little bit of extra weight, or it's catching a lot of teams off guard where it's just running straighter than they expect it to. So interesting to see how these two teams will adjust to that. Of course, we just saw Emily Deschênes. It is the first end, so I don't hate seeing her throw a little bit of extra weight just to safely make sure that they are removing that stone. But I'm sure as they adjust and get more comfortable with the ice surface underneath them, that we will see that weight come down in order to make sure that they keep their shooter around.
So Mackenzie Kimo gets to learn a path as we take the blank end and go into the second end. So those who have not been with us all week, we have enjoyed now 7 draws of complete curling for the men and women. This will be our last draw before we head off to playoff Monday, which will be determined all the times, and we will know by the end of the draw today. We're hoping you've been enjoying our coverage here on Title Sports Live, the 2020 Curling Provincial Championship.
So a slight miss there, but it's really going to be up to Mackenzie Kimo to decide what she wants to do here. It looks like not willing to take on too much risk early in this game. I thought with that rock slipping back 4, not really that scary if you're Mackenzie Kimo. I thought they might take the opportunity to throw off the corner guard, but deciding to take things a little bit easier here, hit this stone back 4 and possibly roll off to the wing.
Well, again, we've seen that in other games, right, where this is a deliberate strategy. People hit and roll to the wings and set that guard a little later in the second possession. Again, we don't get the roll here, so we'll see this probably end up being played in the middle.
Yeah, it is a little bit of a safer call, especially with the 5-rock rule.
Yeah.
When you take on that hit in the first stone and then take that free opportunity to throw the corner guard, you're really reverting the end back to maybe how we would have seen a 4-rock guard rule initiated a few years ago. Just taking the opportunity to have one guard up and not allow the opponent the opportunity to really get things set up really well for themselves down the middle.
Last shot here from Celeste Gauthier in the second end. She's from Ottawa and goes to Marydale High School, and believes that she has made 95% of tea.
Of tea?
Just before she was topping herself up with a favorite beverage from a local well-known provider of tea and coffee. Moving this one off a little bit off the center. See how Jessica adjusts to that. Jessica is a proud Ryerson Ram. Know a little bit about them. And is from the Toronto area, and she likes to bake, cook, and read, and is an avid Toronto Maple Leaf fan.
I'm sure that's not making anybody a little bit upset here in this building. Yeah, and that was a situation kind of there where I thought Mackenzie Kimo might try and force the issue a little bit Team Deshane not staying in the center of the sheet, making a little bit of a roll out to the wings. Not only that, also behind the tee line. So I thought they might take the free opportunity to throw the guard up, but it seems both teams not really wanting to take on too much risk here. So Chemo makes the hit. Team Deshane follows it up with another hit here.
Now, Kenna Bartlett is going to be throwing second rockets today for Team Chemo. She is a third-year mechanical engineering student at Queens from Oshawa and is one of the 2019 OUA champions from Queens University. Fun fact for her is she actually thinks one of the proudest moments was sparing for Emma McKenzie in a do-or-die game.
She might be referring to this game right here, yeah. Confirmation from Emma McKenzie that is what she was referring to. The second for Team Deshane is Jillian Unya. Calls her home in Perth, Ontario, and claims that she loves her dog Trixie more than most people. So take from that what you will. I know a couple people that are like that for sure. And an excellent hit and roll there back to the center. Going to make the blank opportunity a little bit tougher here for Camille. Needing to roll all the way out of the rings, although still plenty of rocks to go in this end. They will attempt to roll back out to the wings to make that hit and roll out attempt a little bit easier for Mackenzie from the end of this end.
Again, here's one of these ones where a little bit of an inside release. It's going to have to be worked real hard to hold the line.
Does just get enough to remove it from play, but will allow Emma Artichuk the free opportunity to get her draw weight underneath her.
And Emma Artichuk is from Ottawa and goes to John McRae Secondary School. We have learned that Emma loves to shop and has not seen a Lululemon store that she does not like.
The next question might be to lean over and ask if it's her money or mom and dad's that she likes to spend.
Well, Dad did say he doesn't see her anymore because she's got a job, so maybe it's some of hers.
So taking the free opportunity for the open draw here. Good enough. Sits it in the top 4 foot.
Again, playing to the middle and potentially making that last hit and roll away shot that might be in our future a little more difficult.
Absolutely, and it will be a little bit interesting here. I think we have seen a couple misses by a few teams this week. Down this center line, you need to be a little bit careful with that little, it's very release sensitive, I would say, depending how you throw it. If you do get that rock started, we have seen a couple over curls, so we'll see what it comes to when it comes down to that last shot, but you can definitely find a little bit of curl if you really want to.
So that was the first shot of Emily Roy, who's from Dundas, Ontario, proud master of the Marauder, and she likes to run. The Ontario Winter Games gold medalist in 2018 and second at the u21 Provincials in 2018.
So Amar Artichok attempting to remove this red stone. Does so successfully, staying around. This rock getting a little bit closer to the top of the rings. By the time you get to that last shot, we may have to see some kind of a hit and roll by either team to ensure that their rock does stay in the ring. So we'll keep an eye on that if we see a couple more nose hits here.
Race again, trying to hit and stick that, and immediately Mackenzie Kimo says, let's stay off this one.
Trying their best to make it curl here. It is going to have to work a little bit, but I think it's going to be okay. And it will. So they make a little bit of a hit and do roll towards the wings. So maybe making that hit and roll out a little bit easier for Mackenzie Female.
Now we're see the first shots of Emily Shane from Greeley, Ontario, a schoolmate of Emma at John Gray Secondary School, and a proud 2020 Youth Olympian representing Canada, who will be going to Lausanne, Switzerland in the early part of January for a couple of weeks of exciting competition. Looking forward to seeing Emily and her teammates representing Canada playing against the likes of my team China and the Swiss and the Russian team and a whole bunch of teams.
And I'm sure you're not taking any notes from what you might see here in this game from Emily that you might save for that competition in a couple of weeks.
Maybe there's a few scouts here.
Right, so a good hit and roll there by Emily Deschamps, rolling back towards the center. Mackenzie Keemill going to take the opportunity to here, would love to really stick around. We've seen a couple times this week some teams rolling out on this open hit on their skips first, and that's something you really want to try to avoid. You don't want to give Emily Deschamps the free opportunity to take another practice draw here into the forefoot.
We'll focus on Mackenzie for a minute from Niagara Falls, Ontario. A proud Toronto University Blue, and member of the curling team there as well. We know that Mackenzie loves music and is a music major, if I remember correctly. They're volunteering in retirement homes and also some.
This one, they're staying close, and they will successfully move that Yellowstone, hit it right on the nose. So the opportunity here for Emily Deschamps to possibly make a slight hit and roll towards the center of the sheet to make sure that Mackenzie Keemill would have to roll the longest way possible in order to get out of the rings and secure it.
There you go. So a little conversation between Emily and Mackenzie about how that shot fell. Good to have your confidence early.
And I think that's why a lot of gravitated towards playing these double ends a little bit more. She or die get this with on the line. You want to make sure that the entire team is bought in and comfortable before you decide to push the envelope. If one of your teammates say, no, I'm not quite comfortable with maybe getting into that kind of a draw game, then you're hurting yourself if you do try and force the envelope in that way. And we see here a little bit of a rollout by Emily Deschamps, so going to allow Mackenzie Keemill another free opportunity here to get a look at a certain spot in the sheet. Maybe she has
all seven drawn that wave up, push the and it will run straight. Mackenzie Keemill with her final shot here in the second end, looking just to throw it through and get a little knowledge on this path in the open. So again, the hit. Again, Celeste Roche now here first on the third end. Looks like Emma was right there, so you keep that out front. Maybe flip a few walks and play now here in the third end. Comes up short. Jessica looking at putting her out.
Team Chemo possibly trying to keep things maybe a little bit more open here by drawing to the wings. Doing this really makes Emma Artichuk decide how she wants to play this end. In all likelihood, this early in the game probably won't take on too much risk by ignoring that and drawing around the center guard, but that is definitely an option. And as we see here, she will decide to hit this red stone for right now. Not wanting to allow Team Chemo to get too many rocks sitting around the edge of the rings.
Just a little bit, but still, perhaps shot.
It does look like Red did hang on for shot stone there, so Artichuk not really deciding that that red rock is too much of an issue for them, so they're just going to play clean draw around the card. Have the opportunity to hit that red rock later if it really becomes an issue for you.
Again, a little bit concerned about how much it's going to curl and what the weight is. I think they know it's coming down to the back. So that bump that right one, knock it out, and leave himself sitting two, buck behind the team.
And of course, when we look at the women's standings and the logjam of teams at 3 and 3, the possibility of tiebreakers always come into play. And in the case of a three-way tie, if all three teams have beaten each other, of course, to determine the seeding and who gets the bye to the semi and who plays the tiebreaker game, it's going to come down to draw for hammer. And I was just received the updated draw for hammer scores for the women's teams from Curl On after their last draw for hammer here prior to this game. So both of these teams here in this game sitting at the top, team the best hammer score all on close team likely wins at that bye to the second in the game. The three ties beat each other.
Should Coach Glenn be happy?
Draw for hammer being so important throughout the week to start off a game with hammer, and Keemale winning the hammer once again here today, so a little bit of a sign of that, and they're going to whether or not they want to Yellowstone at all. It doesn't look they do this game. If you play the hit and roll in this rock, you likely roll into the rings, but either way, Team Keemale not trying to take on just the straight peel, possibly just trying to get something working here, attempting to just hit and roll to a corner guard. Just not quite curling up, and they will, so be heading blank at the game. Game. That's not gonna. We're gonna have to see a couple of rocks in play here. And of course, we talked about the draw for hammer standings for these two teams, but when looking at the other three teams in this three log jam, the order goes Team Keemale, Steve Latt. So if it comes way to discern the tie teams where they've all beaten each other, that is for that event.
this year in the game. So that should
Absolutely
like
doesn't.
parents them these guys.
See, for all of those teams who are sitting at 3-3, it is win home situations here. It's 2 games with that round. Once again, up to team over teams. He wants action as well. Yeah, coming up very left spot that might, look pretty close to a not so many moment so. Fortunately, won't burn them too much here as Team Kimil just draws to the open side, and Chuck will have a chance to hit this here.
Redemption shot here for Hunt. Trying to get a hit and stick.
This one curling quite a bit. I always have to be careful about jam there. They do jam that red stone, but luckily enough it is still out of the rings.
Let's just see if that comes up and be used again by our teams. A little bit closer, a little more opportunity to jam again.
Absolutely, and they would love to lock this stone right onto that rock just outside of the rings to make it very difficult for Emily Deschamps to remove from play.
Grace knows you got just walking to that same spot.
Oh, he did.
While we're on the subject of talking tiebreaker scenarios, looking over quickly at the men's, of course, Team McNamara undefeated. If they win their game, will get the bye to the final. But in the scenario where Team McNamara loses to Team Purdy and Mooibroek wins their game, it will be a 3-way tie for first, where all 3 teams beat each other. In that case, it will come down to draw for hammer to see who gets the bye to the final. And I see here that Team Mooibroek does have the best record out of those 3 teams, followed by Team Purdy and Team McNamara. So in the case where McNamara loses and Mooibroek wins, that will be the seeding going into the playoffs. Mooibroek followed by Purdy and McNamara.
So Shane looking to remove this rock just about ran the ring. So he's sitting there fighting. Pretty finicky spot here. Before this weight up to finish that off, so stay straight.
Absolutely. So going to need a nice clean throw here by Emily Deschamps. Not only to make contact with the stone, but also to avoid the jam. Curl up, a will to the rings. Looks like it will.
And well executed.
So Team Kimil to take the medicine here and go. What the way they want to throwing them all out in this new. I haven't really seen. You do want to keep the up. You want to get caught with the rock captions and maybe over curling on you.
Just calling by That's been Canada working to work hard to hold this line.
She'll do a great job to do that. Puck rolls a little bit towards the center line, but does stick around the rings, forcing Emily Deschamps to make this hit and stick here once again to try and force to make her last hit roll out in order to secure the blank end.
We're already getting to the next knowledge of what the team leading is going to do. Again, speaking of Drace.
Two more to this game. Let's see a few rocks find their way into play in the next coming ends. a little bit straighter on Emily as well, although looks like it's going to move up enough for her. It does, hits it right on the nose, so up to Mackenzie Kimmel now to ensure lane again by removing this yellow stone and rolling out of play.
It's time to walk the walk. Talk about what the shirt's like.
We'll see here of course go for stand. Haven't really seen that kind of a decision yet by Team Kimmel here. In the first couple rocks of each end, when Team did throw a couple of rings, Team Kimmel choosing to hit them rather than taking the chance to throw up the corner guard, even when Team Deschaines maybe were in this position. So to see does stick to her guns here in the next end and decide maybe to take those free opportunities to toss up a corner guard. Unfortunately, just getting a little bit tight there out of the hand. The sweeper's working the whole way, but not able to pull it for her, so she is forced to take her single point and will take a 1-0 lead here going into the fourth end over Team Deschaines. Now she might not have a choice. Maybe might have to go for it a little bit more. We'll see if she has to treat the issue. Team Deschaines. That is the call here in the fourth end. So I believe Jessica Filipchich being after a tight center, and hopefully we see a few more locks in play this end.
Recognize, of course, the great
yeah, and great, very experienced her games gold as well. Her up appearance at the U18 champ that I'm official for. Early and still game left to go. You'd love to get more some point in order that you do the hammer in the even ends. You definitely don't want too much to give up a big early game like
now we have the ice conditions here.
Players guess why up way light because of the frost. This rock looking like it's out there, but the sweeper's not necessarily indicating that it is light, so it looks like it might be close to a decent spot. It does dig in for her, sticks around just behind the tee line. I know it's been very fresh until you brought there. Look for the right to make the adjustment forward then.
So that's the similar shot to the last one. You see she can dial down the weight a little bit. You do have to wait for these rocks to break coming off the edge.
Maybe grabbing a little bit at the end, just kind of put its blinker on right in the last couple. So, a lot of maybe the opportunity not to top it is really good. That yellow hit maybe would. But when you're playing in these do or die games, from my experience, momentum, you have to go that a lot. Roller coaster where it's scores going back and forth and you keep those under control. So as we see more rocks coming into here in the next couple ends, it'll be interesting to see which control to going.
If it doesn't grab it, it's not getting
Now we've just kind of blown away in three with a couple of blank-ins. It should have been a blank-in in three.
Yeah, after those first three, the two fourth there on email on her last stone game on here in Bow. We see this with multiple guards going up by both teams, and hopefully we'll get to see a couple more opportunities here. Back over off that.
Spot where it runs straight, and then it will catch and start to curl. Teams will have to learn that. Team Purdy in the last game really got that in an out turn wrong.
Yeah, if there's one spot on the sheet that really the big game has been out turn. Most teams really actually just in that spot when you start to work happen. It will continue to straighten out throughout the game, and teams haven't been able to adjust. We see there actually Team DeShane over curling on there. So we see if they with the addition that will straighten as the game continues on, or what adjustments they make.
So again here, this in-turn side turn.
An interesting call here. I thought we might expect to see them maybe to try and draw through that point on the center line in order to maybe hide another rock behind those staggered red guards. Taking a look at the overhead camera, it does look like yellow is shot stone, so possibly maybe just wanting to keep their rocks a bit more spread out there. Line ended up being pretty much perfect on that come around, but just slipping a little bit red shot. Here Ray Floyd who make this draw through that port on the center line in order to really solidify her own position with having a rock in the forefoot and likely leading to a force of Team DeShane. And this is definitely the way to do it. If they can put this red rock in a really good spot, it's going to be tough to access if you're Team DeShane. Needs to curl off this guard though.
Just a little bit heavy, very slow.
Missing both rocks. Maybe a little bit of miscommunication on that. Sweeping so hard to make sure that it curled off that guard. But if the sweepers had allowed Mackenzie the opportunity to know just how heavy that rock was, perhaps she would have had the chance to maybe try and sweep to get a little bit of a tick on that corner guard in order to keep that red rock in a more viable spot. But unfortunately, sliding to the back 12, and it's going to be very difficult for them to utilize that rock, I think.
Yeah.
It's really close. I think, what did we have? We're on just on the inside of the one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it won't until it comes off, and then it will. And it's just, she doesn't roll it.
No. I just don't think he ever wanted to. So he didn't.
Sweeper's definitely not thinking it's that light. They're staying really close.
He's just trying to throw a high guard, and he just was not wanting to beat, so threw it incredibly high.
97.
That's really close. It looked like they might have just got that Yellowstone far enough in order to sit to. Although leaves it about half exposed. Maybe a little bit more, it looks like, from our broadcast screen. Maybe a thick half exposed here. Maybe it might allow Team Kimmel the opportunity to come down and make some kind of a double. This is curling quite a bit. Looks like it's going to be pretty close, though. Looks like they were maybe trying to get that yellow rock. Yellow's head chance. They got a bit more to move that red rock. So yellow's still sitting 2 here with them. So maybe get the opportunity to sink another one here, and looking at the possibility of maybe 2 or more if they can put this in a good spot.
They're gonna throw this light away. It might, but if you're bouncing off the back of the red, like there's a margin there, but I think that's the right they just moved it.
Mike is saying 2. So we've got one in the black cage, one in the red in the black cage.
Artichoke gonna do her best to try and put this in a really good spot. I think ideally they'd love to bury this around those staggered red guards, maybe just full top 8.
We need to come to the
That's 14-9.
This looks like it's gonna be really, maybe needs a little throwing here to do at the end. Really see their way for make a hand shot stone.
So Mackenzie was comfortable with playing with some of the rocks and clearance and trying to grade enough to choose the skill. And it has a pretty good shot.
It's like the choke on the rock. It's dishing, or pardon me, MR to chuck just through. Maybe try to jam it into the other yellow stone and stay buried behind the yellow guard. I thought they might take a look at possibly the double run back on those red stones. Seems like that might be the better opportunity in order to get a couple of yellow stones moving, but she can make a nice lightweight tap. The important thing is to keep your shooter close. You want to be really close to making this roll behind the definitely have really close to that yellow guard. A little bit of pseudo double takeout there, sort of ticking both yellow rocks on its way by pushing both far enough so that red is sitting second shot. And I think it would be a mistake if Emily Deshane tried to do anything on those red stones for right now. Don't want those yellow rocks sitting in the back of the rings where Mackenzie Kimo could draw down and make a freeze. So I think if you're Emily Deshane, best option here might be to play the exact same shot Emma did. Try to just keep something around the top of the rings that you can use to score your 2 points, possibly more if you ever get a mistake ever out of Mackenzie's last stone.
I think if you go right on the center of the R, that's not bad. No, or even, well no, but if you attempt to this on the R, straight on, they hit their own res, and then what? You just have to attempt to do something. Or you can just be super safe and sit right up in the table.
I think she should go like this.
We're trying to get tucked around the
Ideally would love to put this in the exact same spot. So first rock here by Emily Deshane, trying to keep her deuce alive and put this rock in a good spot, top 8.
It's 14, so
They need a little bit of late finish here in order to get it to a good spot.
oh, we need them to bounce now.
maybe just a little bit deep.
A lot of late sweeping there to try and get some kind of curl, but the question has to be asked if maybe that was maybe a little bit of a miscommunication error by Team Emily Deshane. I think you would have liked to see that. I really don't think the line was that. I think if you had left that maybe a couple feet higher is a better spot rather than bringing it right down to that yellow stone, because this gives the opportunity for Mackenzie Kimo to come down and make a good freeze, and if she can do that, I mean, yellow might still be still sitting shot if she makes a good freeze, but it's going to be very tough for Emily Deschênes to get a second point in there.
And that sweeping communication, right, Mark?
Final by McDonald. Sweeper's calling a little bit heavy, although the line looks very close. Looks like it's really curling here. The sweepers are on it, need to get it by the guard. And they won't, just touches that red stone and will roll through the rings.
No.
So gonna be the opportunity here for Emily Deschênes to play the same draw for the about if you're one, so deal you don't start situation and give up a big score this early in a do or die game. We talked about the roller coaster of emotions that this game can be. So after Emily Deschênes' shot, if she makes this draw for 3, it's going to be interesting to see how Team Chemo calms down their nerves and stays professional in order to try and continue to make shots and get their own opportunities back.
Same system.
Final stem and to 4 points here. Definitely needs to do a little bit of curling here, tracking straight, needs to get off that corner guard. Just touches that corner guard, but luckily not enough to redirect that stone out of the way if you're Emily Deschênes. Rolls into the forefoot and she gets her 3 points to take a 3-1 lead here after 4 ends. Team Chemo will try to bounce back with the hammer in the 5th end.
It's a bit unfortunate there for the
Just unfortunate control that she was hoping for. Definitely quite a bit heavy on her last stone, but also maybe getting caught in a path and allowing that rock to start to curl. I think with that weight, if you get by that guard and stick on the yellow stone, probably ends up okay. Just going through the family shape, the open draw for 3.
good to make them try and make some offense.
Absolutely. If you're Team Deschênes, I think you're going really hard for the 4th here. You just got exactly what you could have ever wanted in that 4th, and with a big score of 3, you need to come right back and continue putting the pressure on. Hope for a huge goal.
That's much better. Me.
That guard, unfortunately, slipping into the rings will not help Chemo's effort. The 5 rock, they will have another corner. So, last you can roll line in order for Deschênes. Getting a second opportunity to get this corner guard up after a Team Deschênes. Good adjustment there by Filipchich to get that guard in a good spot. Maybe he's a little bit too close to center from what would have. Team Deschênes' only rock in the rings being behind the T line allows the opportunity for Team Kimmel to maybe get something up, set up by making a good freeze on that rock.
doesn't quite get the finish that she wants. And now
Again, I think they should have turned it close to me, but this is not close.
Kenzie will put
So that
I think if you're thinking of that back, it's not one that you're really worried as forward in this end. So going to utilize the opportunity that is presented to them here by drawing through this board and hopefully putting a good rock side for ideally a couple feet above the tee line if possible.
so now, because if we end up on the other side now, we aren't able to get into the corner. This is going to be on the guard.
Back guard. That does really straighten. If you frame it a center going a little bit, it will a bit more for you. So playing a little bit too close to the center line to start, or maybe not the most positive release there by the second kind of outlet. And that rock just takes off a little bit and just touches the red stone, and extra unfortunate to actually roll staggered behind that other yellow guard.
Sometimes the other two investors, except for you guys in a sub-6. Take low.
good communication.
A little bit finished. You heard the there by him at our that she just set that rock a little bit out, and as we suggest already a couple times this game, that if you get that rock out there a little bit on the release, it's going to take a long time to come back for you, and that one not quite getting to where they would have liked it. Going to allow Bartels the opportunity to guards, the opportunity to shot makes sweet on no, they're just going to nose that stone, so possibly the opportunity for Emma Artichuk to follow her down and possibly do one better. Try to get to the inside, and if you could ever make a little bit of a roll, really great opportunity here for Team Duchesne to get something set up for them here in the
She's got to be running 11.
Sensitivity is always going to finish. I think it was well checked. Double
Absolutely. This is going to be very tough to get to the inside, of course, with this spot going so straight. It's all about the weight control. As long as you have the ability to bring that weight down, maybe throw a nice hack weight and throw exactly what you're looking for, you will get a little bit of speaking of being asked to get on this one early, and this one looking very close to the guard. Work hard. I can hold on for them over there, but missed opportunity a little bit by Team Duchesne may allow Team Kimmel the opportunity to get a red rock in a good spot here. Of course, now only sitting second rock, so looking like they want to make some kind of back, try to leave themselves room to fit a couple more stones in there to get a big score.
It's gonna nose it back through.
in between.
She's 13 and a half, so I think we should go like
Plenty of weight slowing. Tempting to try and just make the freeze on the rock back four, but unfortunately coming out with too much weight. You're the best out of it. Hold it at that stone, but it does nose. So opportunity right back here for Team Duchesne. Trying to make a hit and roll to the center line to really choke off McKinnon's draw path into that 4 foot, and it looks going to do about opportunity. So second rock here from Grace Lloyd. She's really looking to try and make this double, though it's going to have to curl up for her in order to stick around.
It's also a good one.
Spin at the end. Redstone does spin back to sit here to not leave any kind of double for Mackenzie Keemill in order for her to score her multiple points. So it looks like they're going to try and make this draw behind the guard. Ideally would love to leave this top four where there is no double.
Let's get a chance to make that.
A little bit in one, but another need to put the is having to hear this right diving guard. Get it. Get
Where the fourth shot now is he will have
tough to tell from that angle, and the red rock over could be sitting to you here. Looks like she's just going to play the draw with this kind of ice to that back stone, so maybe they aren't second shot. Perhaps yellow is sitting two here. Exactly, and the question there by Jessica Phillips just asking Mackenzie which rock she thinks was closer, and but I'm sure we have between two stones. Shane will draw to the top of the 4 foot, so she's trying to get that away from her right here and put a rock in a good spot.
Doctor's
That's a bit of back. It looks like to that. Possibly with the magic to see if you second.
she does not jam on the back and bring the freeze.
With this vice playing way too fast, freeze exactly what they call me. So it doesn't going to try a really good freeze on. You need to be very careful so that you don't leave the possibility of a double. The ability to stick that redstone on the back one for a multiple score for Mackenzie Keemill. Get a little bit of finish on this rock, but it looks like it's going to be a little bit heavy. Maybe the opportunity here to score a couple points. What do you think, Harry? Is there enough room to get that yellow rock past the red? This shot, of course, is all about weight control. You need to make sure that you throw exactly the weight that you need to make this shot. Anything extra, and we know it will track straight, and you will likely roll out and only score your one. Of course, the tolerance, you can be a little bit light. Knows you do get your 1 point in this situation. Particularly the scoreboard, I'm sure Mackenzie Keemill would like to put 2 points up on the board going into the fifth. Rock top Mackenzie Keemill attempt delicate tap, avoiding her redstone to 2 points. This rock out a little bit wide to start, though. I think this is going to need to curl to make contact.
Touch.
Touch it enough.
Interesting early call there by Artichoke, calling the one stone and quickly picking those stones away before it had the opportunity. Now, looked positive, but the quick call by Team Deshane to on the outdoors for Mackenzie Kimo, and it is a 3-2 lead here for Team Duchesne after the first half. We will listen into their fifth end breaks, and we will back when action can occur in Women's Provincial Championship.
May want to take down the they are yellow.
No, I've already been many times. They're 1-1. Field right now is 1-1. Just small. Been to many places.
Here, and we're ready to go with second half action here in the final draw of the round. Maybe a little bit of a negativity there by Mackenzie. Then he had a very tough shot to score. It does just shame with the hammer here in the sixth end, and what is need to get
everybody else.
by their own position. Maybe if they can just match on the chain, probably going to give them the opportunity to get back into this game. Maybe a good opportunity to get something going here is that Yellow Rock does come up a little bit light of the weight. So the chance here for them to send this game out to Jessica Phillips. Not in a good spot, top four carry.
Actually did in the first and the sneak one. She got a point in the game.
Five ends have been included across all 8 sheets here at the Guelph Curling Club. So looking across, keeping playoff teams today, other playoff teams for the women. Team Ledesor and Team Warner tied 2-2 in the 6th end. Team Warner with the maybe a little shock here on sheet 2. The undefeated Team McNamara the opportunity to put straight into the final. A great game here, down 9-2 to Team Purdy after 5 ends of play. Going on to sheet 3, we have Team Thornley in another group to advance. Team come back with the hand. Makes an out with the one for Team Collins, so hopefully in control of that game and hoping to hold on. Over on sheet 7, we have another close game with playoff implications as Team Steel actually leading the event leaders, Team Sutherland 3-2. Although Team Sutherland does have the hammer in the 6th end here. Of course, we remember that if Steel does win that game, we will situation on the win there. Lovely with a 3-2 lead over Team Hon in the 6th end action.
Maybe a bit of a letdown after a big win.
Absolutely. If you're Team McNamara, I mean, all credit where credit's due. Team Purdy is obviously a very good team. We saw them playing earlier today on our sheet. But Team McNamara on such a roll all week long, and with the opportunity to book this fly directly to the final, I think it's a little bit short here against Team Purdy. We'll have to take a look at it if they made a campaign of what that. My notes here. If Purdy does defeat Team McNamara, it all comes down to where Moist the body game then will get the body. So plenty riding on that game over on sheet 4. Definitely one to keep an eye on as we move forward into the second half here. Looking back at our game here.
So any of the 3 of them can get the bye.
Shane looking to make
there's
a
no
dollar line, trying to make it around that center stone. Hopefully we'll plot. Farther to make this hit roll slightly tougher for Hima's Ice Race Lloyd to put this rock in a good spot. Looks like if she does make a good roll behind that guard, it's going to be pretty close to see whether or not they're going to be shot. But starting to would take off whether
it's just a little drizzle and then it's going to rain. I don't know if I'm going all the way home to work. I'm just going to go watch for the stop.
There's now no limit that full of the broom. They're not quite getting enough curl near the end. Trying to roll those guards out. I think to make the perfect rolls dead buried behind those red rocks. Always keep an eye out for Mackenzie Kimmel to decide to really put the hammer down and try to make a good draw around those rocks. If she makes this roll to the top 12 or opportunity to look result.
Even if the nickel shots.
I'm sure you would might see Mackenzie Kimmel attempt to continue to hit for a little bit, likely wait to roll behind that mess that's going on just off the center line. At some point, you might hear really put it on the line a little bit and try to come up with a really good drop.
Yeah, they know they should win this game.
But do they know?
They don't.
They know.
They're fully aware. Doesn't look that way. They are.
Very slowly to take it. Just sit there. Keep your head. Okay. Now, Team Shane, they can't sit here and they're the ones who have to do
They're discussing maybe the opportunity to hit the ball off this redstone. I don't know if that's. I don't know what this is for to success. Try to think of possibly drawing around the center. I mean, if you hit it perfectly to read that yellow stone, then you know Mackenzie Kimmel's just going to ignore it. I don't think she'll make it. We talk about the this was the other thing I was worried about. If you don't make that hit, you need that low extend the option to hit and roll here. At least if you draw somebody of the high yellow one, you can get a little. To respectfully disagree with you there on that one, Perry. I think I like the hit here, and the reason is we are in the dome. You are going into an odd end, and then maybe you can go a little bit harder for the force on Team Duchesne in the odd end in order to get Hammer back in the 8th.
It's 2x1.
Against team, but they haven't. We haven't really seen them as more walk that put a lot of pressure on Team Duchesne. Kind of just sticking to these open hits, trying to keep things open and not allowing that risk to come into this game. Although at some point, with the scoreboard favoring Team Duchesne, you're gonna have to push the issue at some point. Very full to path out there to really get those hits. Looked like Emily might have just sent that out turn a little bit wide and just tracks that far out there and doesn't quite come back for her enough to stick her shooter. We offered to these stay with them before that. You were a little bit worried about those staggered red rocks and whether or not they were going to come back to bite Team Duchesne a little bit, and that could be the problem here if Mackenzie Kimmel can come up with a good draw. Correctly, has had a lot of opportunities to draw in this game. This is a confidence builder here, trying to come up with a good one.
3 draws and only 41%. Mackenzie needs to step it up, like you said.
I think most of her misses have been heavy, so we'll see here what the sweepers indicate early.
Like the line.
Looks like they're fans of the way sweepers on it early here. Looks like they're going to be able to get it as far as they would like. At this point, going to need a little bit of finish in order to find those. Great sweep there by Kenna Bartlett to drive, but not like in this where we're looking at the girl exactly the spot it to. Maybe about that earlier in the game and taking the same ice and just not enough for Mackenzie Kimmel to get that rock berry.
Like a steal and 6.
So a couple of is
I think for the black, but force the world a little bit careful. For trying to lead so of war chemo tries to take the hammer in the seventh end, so a big missed opportunity there by Emily Deshane. The opportunity to keep control. Of course, they do still have a little bit of control over this game, having the hammer. But having the hammer in those even ends, I'm sure Mackenzie would love to look to a force in this end if possible. I think definitely mission accomplished if you're Team Chemo. So looking forward to this first end. May try to push the envelope a little bit more, trying to really push Team Deshane into a mistake later in this end. And we're going to start by seeing a tight guard thrown by Jessica Filipchich here. To really issue when your opponent gets in tight to the rings. When it ends up halfway like this, you don't really have the opportunity to throw without the opposite heel. Let's see how he's out as we send whether side guard or that halfway guard makes it a little bit more difficult for Team Chemo to throw up another guard later if they get a couple rocks in some good spots. Good team coming out with a good freeze.
We're going around the center of the time. That's not good.
Looks like definitely getting a lot of curl here from the stone. Really finding to this is that little rock. Pretty much perfect weight there by Jessica Filipchich. Not sure how she made that one curl as much as it did. Remote on
lots of techniques. Not implying when you do that.
Didn't quite get a look at the release, but maybe just a little bit softer than expected by Team Chemo, and maybe that just caused a little bit of extra curl there.
Again, without a bad angle, even want to keep that little bit curl that time. Just gives the opportunity for Celeste to hustle that one beside.
Absolutely. Pretty much exactly where Mackenzie rocked. Maybe later, maybe half stone on the this rock, though, not finding that curl that Jessica's did. Hanging out there. Looks like it's going to be just about edge on edge. Maybe the tiny piece buried. But going to be the opportunity here for Kenna Bartlett to follow them down and maybe make a little bit of a tap. Definitely control weight. Wanting to remove one of these yellow stones for the double.
Yeah.
But she might try and bring the weight down. Maybe just some red rock. Sweeper's really working on this one.
It's the back one. Leaves yourself exposed. So again, I agree with you. Maybe a little more finesse would have been better than just trying to remove both of them.
Yeah, I think maybe I would just put a little bit of a question mark behind that call. Opening up this end so early, I think, allows the opportunity for Team Deshane to maybe get away with it and escape. I think if you just move that first yellow rock and make a precise roll, leave red buried, and it's up to Team Move that they can move those rocks around and score deuce. Right now, opening it up, this really allows them the opportunity to maybe escape and set something up for themselves. This rock hanging out a little bit and just sort of missing the plan B of the double, but does stick around over on the edge of the ring. So if your team, Kimo, you do have to be careful. Keep that yellow stone sort of in the corner of your eye. Be careful to not allow that one to come into play. Make sure that on these open hits, you are doing everything you can to ensure that you're keeping your that with it. Great sweep there by Grace Lloyd to ensure that they keep their shooter around and up to Emma Artichuk. She might have a decision to make. It looks like she's going to take on the slightly tougher shot here to come around this guard and make a tap on the red stone in order to maybe start building some kind of a wall there in the back eight so that it's very tough for Team Kimmel to remove their rocks later.
Just kidding.
Excellent sweep there by Team Shane. Makes the tap and does remove one of the red rocks, but keeping that other red rock back there in the back 8 foot makes this a very difficult shot for Grace Lloyd to remove. We'll really have to be very precise and perfect in order that the is high so that they don't jam this yellow rock on the red stone back 8. And over on sheet 2, we do have handshake. So in the 6th end, Team McNamara able to win. Unfortunately, 9-3 deficit decide that that's enough. Get handed their first loss of these championships, so they drop to 5-1. Team Purdy increased their record to 1, and now all eyes turn to sheet 4 as Team Rooney has taken to Team Mooibroek. Of course, as Rooney is able to hold on to win that game, then Team Purdy will advance directly to the final tomorrow afternoon. If Mooibroek comes through to win, then they themselves will get the bye to the final tomorrow afternoon.
Again, that lighter back line really allowed that rock back up.
He got a little bit fortunate though. That rock does stick around in the ring, but it looks like it might have come up. Yellow's sitting first and third now. They can play on red stone right now. She will take her. Would you ever take that on as maybe the all too northern at the time? Standings team with the loss there 1, not 5-1. The situation doesn't change. It's on that Rooney moving forward.
Decided to draw to the wing. Important to get this in the right spot. Where they wanted it.
Yeah, just not quite far enough. Gonna allow Team Kimo the opportunity to hit and roll really behind that center guard. Here by Team Deshane to set up. I don't really see any as a huge factor. Likely, even if they do make a good hit and roll here, there will be the opportunity for Team Deshane to follow them down and make some kind of a tap. Although all the pressure could be on Team Deshane. Sweep line. This is just maybe becomes Primo asked for. Allows that rock to be a blessing in disguise, that because the is sitting as well. Or sideways, have to work around in the rings. It's about a half rock and just out. He's kind of between the rings. I think about a bit down exactly sorry to chuck through, but the weight didn't seem too far off. Just get caught a little bit. You really need to be precise. Make sure that you release in order to get a predictable